Commission. Public Health Commissioner, Mr. Jude Gédéon. Principal Secretaries, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I would like to extend my sincere welcome to all of you for the launching of the Work in Seychelles Induction Program, or WINS in short. My name is Frances Bristol, and I will be your Master of Ceremony for this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, Seychelles has for long been recruiting foreign labor. This is due to the country's small population and economic development, which consequently results in a shortage of local workers on the labor market. This reliance on foreign labor will remain as the country continues to develop and investment increases. Whilst we recognize the benefits of foreign labor to the country, their protection in terms of their working conditions, safety and health at work, and others remain paramount. Although various laws, policies, and infrastructures have been introduced to safeguard the rights of migrant workers, it is vital that they are also sensitized upon their rights, responsibilities, and custom of the country. This is to ensure that their integration in the Seychelles society is one that is comfortable, and their work journey is one that can be valued by themselves, their employers, and the country in general. Without further ado, I would like to invite Mrs. Patricia Fonkou, the Minister for Employment and Social Affairs, to deliver her remarks. Minister.
Colleague Ministers, Indian High Commissioner, Commissioner of Police, ILO and IOM representatives, Public Health Commissioner, the Principal Secretaries, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you all for honoring us with your presence today. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to witness the launch of yet another important initiative by the Ministry of Employment and Social Affairs, an initiative that we have conceived in collaboration with the Ministry of Internal Affairs and the participation of other relevant stakeholders. I wish to acknowledge our international partners who are following this event online and live from overseas. The Director of the International Labour Organization Country Office for Madagascar, Comores, Mauritius, and Seychelles, Dr. Kofi Agusu, officials from the Southern African Migration Management Project, and officials from the International Organization for Migration, IOM. Thank you for your support towards today's event. Your participation indeed solidifies our partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you the Work in Seychelles Induction Program and its logo. Thank you so much, and it's a beautiful one too. It is an exciting time for us and a milestone in our history. As a country, we have been welcoming migrant workers to our shores for many, many years. Today, we accord to them the respect that they deserve and acknowledge the immense contribution to our economy. The Work in Seychelles Induction Program is targeted particularly to migrant workers coming to work in Seychelles. Some of us here present and others all over the country have experienced the life of working abroad in a foreign country. We know that it is often not an easy transition, coming from a completely different background and culture, not knowing much about the country of destination, the way of life, the laws and regulations, the services available, and most importantly, the work life in that particular country. What are my rights and obligations? How should I maintain contact with my family? How should I be sending remittances back home? These are some of the questions that we all probably have faced at one time or the other, and it's the same for our migrant workers. The induction program is serving to do just that. Its purpose is to help migrant workers have a smooth integration into our country. It is to ease a bit the challenges that may possibly arise in the completely normal process of joining a new organization with its own culture and behavioral principles, let alone working in a new country. The plan for the induction is to hold sessions with groups of migrant workers as and when they enter the country, whereby relevant information is passed on to them. These will include the conditions set out in their work permit about working in Seychelles, their rights and obligations under the employment laws, some components about living in Seychelles, such as the law and order, the preservation of our environment, as well as the common respect of each other's cultural identity. The induction will be mandatory, and employers requested to participate will have to make the workers available, of course, respecting the employer's work schedule. It will be organized to meet the convenience of all concerned. The sessions will be done once only when the workers first come into the country. After that, occasional contacts will be maintained through our labor inspectors while they undertake inspection visits at the different work sites. Ladies and gentlemen, our expectations are that the migrant workers become better equipped and have the necessary knowledge, confidence, and ability to make decisions for themselves. Ultimately, we expect that migrant workers will come forward more willingly and as soon as they encounter difficulties whilst they are living and working in our country, same as is done normally by their local counterparts. We want those situations where migrant workers are not paid their remunerations for months on end and other forms of mistreatment, as we know and have observed, to be a thing of the past. I therefore call on all partners, and especially employers, to support this initiative and to assist in sharing correct information to migrant workers on their rights and obligations. I urge the employers to treat these workers with respect and in accordance with the labor laws. I would like to inform you that strengthening enforcement and increasing compliance to labor laws is one of the strategic priorities of the ministry. When labor rights are respected, workers feel valued and are more productive. They are become more productive in the job. A good start is for workers to be aware of their rights and responsibilities through proper induction. This is a practice in many countries. We have an obligation to make it happen, and we are being well supported by our international partners, ILO and IOM, to be precise in this regard. Naturally, we will not be able to cover all workers coming or working in the country. To begin with, we will be targeting particular industries where we know that migrant workers are most vulnerable. This will be construction, farming, wholesale and retail trade, and domestic work. Alongside the sessions, we are also making available induction packs with reading materials for the workers to use as reference as and when necessary. The pack will include a directory on emergency as well as important telephone numbers, including the different hotlines and email addresses of relevant authorities for the workers to maintain contact with throughout their work-life journey. We will also continue with our workers' education engagements through different platforms like the social media to keep empowering both workers and employers as well as other relevant actors of the world of work so that we continue to maintain industrial harmony. Let us come together to bridge the gap. We all need one another. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not need to remind you of the important role that migrant workers play in our country. The total number of migrant workers in the country today is around 14,000, with the majority of workers in the construction industry, tourism, manufacturing, and wholesale and retail trade. These workers make significant contributions to our country, which have led to positive economic growth of various industries, and they have contributed in the emergence and growth of new economic activities. Let us embrace their presence and value the productivity that they bring to the economy, the sacrifices that they make to leave their families to come and work in Seychelles. Ladies and gentlemen, our work is not done. We will continue to build on the program to ensure that it is meeting its purpose. I recently met with the regional director of the IOM for Southern Africa whilst he was on a work visit to Seychelles. IOM has pledged their support through, for example, helping us with the translation of our written materials. For the future, we are looking into the possibility of introducing an app where reference information can be easily accessible to migrant workers through a smartphone. This will be beneficial for those that we will not be able to cover for our contract sessions. The Ministry is also working with the ILO and SAM project team to launch the media campaign on contribution of migrant workers to the economy. Once this is materialized, information will be available to all workers of the country, locals and foreigners. At this juncture, I wish to thank all partners who have given their full cooperation and assisted us with information to prepare the content for the Work in Seychelles Induction program for migrant workers. My special thanks goes to my colleague, the Minister of Internal Affairs, who without any hesitation saw the benefit of the program when it was presented to him, and he willingly agreed to become our partner. Thank you, Minister. We also give a huge welcome to the Minister. The Ministry looks forward to working with you as a team as we pursue with this program and make it a success. Again, that will not only be for the migrant workers, but for the country as a whole. I would also like to thank other ministries, such as the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Lands and Housing, and other partners, including the Indian High Commissioner, for having provided useful information for the program. My sincere thanks also go to the employers who have willingly made available their workers that we have present here today, and to the workers for your participation. All our invitees, thank you again for honoring us with your presence. I'm also very much appreciative of the hard work and commitment of the staff of Employment Department, who have contributed significantly in the organization and making this event become a reality. Thank you so much for the work that has been done, and a huge well done to you. As a final message, I would like to make a special plea for all of us to please keep in mind that working and living together in peace and harmony should be each and every one of us' ultimate aim and purpose in life. I wish the migrant workers present here today and all those listening online or live stream, thank you for being here today, and I wish you and your presence that you have in the country. Keep it up and do not give up, and I wish you a very successful integration. I thank you again for your contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, for your comforting and optimistic message. I would like to call upon His Excellency, Mr. Karthik Pandey, the Indian High Commissioner for Seychelles, to deliver his remarks.
I'm audible, yes. Honorable Minister for Employment and Social Affairs of Seychelles, Minister of Interior, Minister of Health, Commissioner of Police, representatives from the ILO, IOM, permanent secretaries, principal secretaries present, ladies and gentlemen, a very, very good afternoon. At the very outset, I would like to thank the Honorable Minister of Employment and Social Affairs for taking this initiative, because this is a very, very important initiative. Everybody is aware that quite a lot of workers come to Seychelles, but having this sort of a orientation program is very important, not only from I'm sure the ministry's perspective, but also from someone from the Indian High Commission, because we need to have a fix on who else is here. So, Madam Minister, with your permission, since I'm going to speak a bit of in Hindi, maybe I'll start in a bit of my rusty French to do sort of justice to all languages. So here goes. Tout d'abord, j'ai saisi cette occasion pour remercier le ministre de l'Emploi et Affaires sociales, son Excellence Madame Patricia Franco, et son équipe pour cette initiative importante. Chaque année, de nombreux travailleurs indiens viennent aux Seychelles, embauchés par différentes entreprises pour travailler pour elles. Ces travailleurs contribuent au développement de Seychelles et les envois de fonds en Inde sont une contribution très importante à l'économie indienne. So I end my French there. So, but it is like Madam pointed out, very, very important that these workers are aware of the rules and regulations of the country in which they are in. B, fully aware of their own rights and duties, and C, have access to assistance in case of any untoward incidents, and that to the Ministry of Employment, to the police, and to the High Commission. So we, as the High Commission, also need to be aware of the number and the location of Indian citizens working in India. So I in fact thank Honorable Minister once more for her initiative and her foresight, and with her permission, I'll address those gathered here in Hindi, basically reiterating the same points which you have and are going to in the presentation. Thank you. भारत के सारे लोग जो यहाँ पर हैं, नमस्कार, वड़क्कम, केमछो, बोंजूर. मेरे को बहुत खुशी है कि आप लोग यहाँ पर आए हैं, काम करने आए हैं सेशल्स में. आप सेशल्स के डेवलपमेंट के लिए अपना योगदान देंगे और इंडिया का भी नाम बढ़ाएंगे. लेकिन ये अत्यधिक ज़रूरी है कि आपको पता रहे कि आपके क्या अधिकार हैं यहाँ पर, और उसके साथ साथ आपके राइट्स एंड ड्यूटीज़ क्या हैं. तो इसलिए हमने हाई कमीशन से क्या किया है कि मेरे सीनियर कोलीग मिस्टर वासन यहाँ पर हैं, और हम लोगों ने एक फॉर्म तैयार किया है जिसमें हम आपसे आपका बेसिकली व्हाट्सएप आईडी और कॉन्टैक्ट एड्रेस इस तरह की चीज़ लेंगे, क्योंकि ये बहुत ज़रूरी है कि हम लोगों को भी पता रहे कि आप कहाँ काम कर रहे हैं. और जब सब कुछ ठीक चलता है तो बहुत अच्छा रहता है, लेकिन अगर कोई प्रॉब्लम आए तो आपको भी पता होना चाहिए. मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट एक है, पुलिस दूसरा, हाई कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया तीसरा. तो वो आपकी मदद करेंगे. और अभी एक आपको प्रेजेंटेशन दिखाया जाएगा जो कि जिसमें हम लोगों ने इंग्लिश में है और जिसमें हम लोगों ने हिंदी को सबटाइटल्स सॉर्ट ऑफ एक्सप्लेनेशंस डाले हुए हैं कि अगर आपको कुछ प्रॉब्लम होती है तो आपको तुरंत अपना काम छोड़ के नहीं भागना चाहिए. एक प्रोसेस होती है, कैसे काम ये सब करना चाहिए, उसमें हमें काफ़ी परिश्रम से बनाया है ताकि आप लोगों को पता रहे. देखिए, आप एक फॉरेन कंट्री में काम कर रहे हैं तो आप जैसे आप कहते हो कि मैं भारत का राजदूत हूँ, आप लोग भी भारत के राजदूत ही हो, तो जो भी होगा आपको परेशानी नहीं होगी, वो हमारी जिम्मेदारी है, लेकिन आपको भी सब कुछ पता होना चाहिए. सो मेरी गुजारिश यही रहेगी कि आप ये फॉर्म भर लीजिए. इम्पॉर्टेंट है कि हम लोगों को भी पता रहे. हाई कमीशन के नाम, नंबर एक्सेट्रा सब उसमें दिया होगा, और ताकि आपके पास भी एक साधन रहे. हमको पता चलता है कि कई बार प्रॉब्लम होती है, हमको पता नहीं चलता है, लोग इधर उधर मारे फिर रहे हैं. तो मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट और हाई कमीशन और पुलिस, तीनों के बारे में आपको पता होना चाहिए. ये मेरा मैसेज है. एक काफ़ी डिटेल्ड प्रेजेंटेशन आपको दिखाया जाएगा. So, Minister, I basically just told them, I mean, if you can pick up a bit of rudimentary Hindi, that, this presentation is going to be exhaustive. We are here, but we should also know who is working, which Indian citizen is working in Seychelles. And, I would once again say that there is an exemplary sort of initiative on your part, and we are very happy to be a part of it. Thank you. Dhanyavad. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your encouraging words. At this moment, I would like to invite you all to view a short video entitled Journey of a Migrant Worker, produced by the International Organization for Migration, and this will be followed by a presentation by Mrs. Tara Diallo, the Director General for Labor Migration, who will introduce the work in Seychelles Induction program and conduct the first session.
All of us who left our countries to find work have a story to tell. This is my story. It all started back in my village. Every day I looked for work. I can't remember how many jobs I applied for. I lost count. Then one day, I heard an ad on the radio. Free visa, it said. Free ticket. Job guaranteed. A big salary. I got excited. With this salary, I could pay for my sister's education, help rebuild my parents' house, and even start my own business. I called the phone number and met with the broker. They promised me a job abroad with a good company and a big salary. I signed up, but no one told me I would have to pay for this job. No one told me I would be in debt. First, I had to pay the broker to introduce me to the agency in the capital. Then, I had to pay the agency's recruitment fee. It was so high, I had to take out a bank loan. They also charged me for the training program. My sister really wanted me to succeed, so she sold some of her belongings to support me. I even had to borrow money from my relatives. I was ashamed for all the burdens my family had to bear. With their help, I was able to pay for the dormitory that I had to stay in as I waited for my job offer, as well as my medical exam. Finally, I received a contract, but it was in a foreign language. I asked the recruitment agent to explain it to me, but they wouldn't. I had so many questions, but no one would answer them. But I still had to pay every step of the way. Eventually, it was time to go. I was nervous. I had never flown on an aeroplane before or been abroad. I had never seen a brighter city. But the city didn't see me or others like me. We are the hidden ones. We work on a modern high-rises, on a scaffolding high above. In the factories, day and night, long shifts and short breaks. The machine noises never stops ringing in our ears. In plantations, harvesting crops. In hospitals, taking care of their sick. And in homes, looking after their children. Here too, I needed to pay for everything. My uniform, the bus to work, and my accommodation. My boss kept my passport, so I couldn't leave. But even if I wanted to leave, I had to pay back the debt first. It took a whole year's salary to pay it back. At night, I dream of my family and of the house I hope to rebuild. I think of all the other workers, just like me, who left behind their homes in hopes to achieve their dreams. We are the hidden ones, bonded by the money we owe. I hope one day it can be different. An honest broker, an ethical recruiter, a fair boss, a responsible company that respects their workers and the hard work they do. I believe it's possible.
So, good afternoon, everyone, ministers, PSs, invitees, and all participants. So, it is an honor for me to do the first induction session. So, most of the information will be on the slide, but I will make the explanation as simple as possible. And all participants will be able to follow as there is a translation provided on the slide. So, like the minister has announced, the Work in Seychelles, this is a new program by the ministry. It is geared at guiding employees, especially new ones, on their journey in Seychelles, especially their work journey. So, as you know, migrant workers, they leave their country. And coming into a new country, there are different challenges that they face. But the important thing is for them to integrate well in the community and also in their work environment. So through this induction session, migrant workers will be able to be informed of their rights and responsibilities, especially with regards to different laws that are available. And they will be in the better position to see all the services that are available, so that the integration within the community is as smooth as possible, and also for them to feel that they are accepted by the people they work with and within the community at large. So the induction program itself. So for migrant workers, it is important for them to know where they are coming to work. In the context of Seychelles, the main islands are Mahé, Praslin, and Ladig. Definitely we have other islands as it is an archipelago. And the population is approximately 98,000. The official languages are English, Creole, and French. And the currency is Seychelles rupees. The weather, we have two weather seasons, the northwest monsoon and the southeast trade winds. So both of them, they revolve around a 6 months period. And we do have the tourism industry and the fisheries industry. These are the two main industries, but of course we have other sectors that support the economy of Seychelles, such as the manufacturing industry, and a famous one, which I can think of now, is the IoT factory. So, migrant workers, what is important for you to have when you come to Seychelles? So definitely to regularize your work status in the country, you should have your gainful occupation permit. So this is the first picture there. And importantly also, to regularize your identity in Seychelles, it's important to have your passport, a valid passport. And I must say that some of the challenges we have encountered at the Ministry of Employment is that there are cases whereby passports are expired within the employment period. So both the worker and the employers should be able to keep track of the records of the workers so that the necessary is done for them to regularize their stay in Seychelles. And definitely it is important for them to know about their working conditions. So in terms of migrant workers, this is done through an attested contract. So the contract will lay out the different conditions of work of the migrant workers. Definitely it will lay out the parties that have signed the contract, the job title of the migrant workers, what are the working hours, what are the salary, and all of the conditions that outlines the employment of the worker when he or she is in the country. So, with regards to the salary, these are stated in the employment regulation itself. First, we start with the minimum wage. As you can see there, the minimum wage currently is 38.27 per hour. So your monthly salary will depend on the working hours you are working per week. For example, a worker working 48 hours will be compensated 7,960.16 cents per month. So if there is any work that is conducted beyond the normal working hours, there are overtime remuneration that should be paid according to the employment laws. And salary is due to be paid every 5th of the month. This is the latest, every 5th of the following month. And upon payment of salary, there should be a pay slip that is issued to the workers. So the pay slip lays out all the gross salary itself and any deduction that is made on the salary, so that the workers know what is the net income per month. And in terms of migrant workers, the mode of payment can be cash or bank transfer. But it is important that records of the payment are kept by the employer and by the worker themselves. So this will help when there are any contention. The records are there to support any allegation being put forward. We continue with the rights. The employment law says the maximum working hours per week is 60 hours, but definitely your working hours will depend on the contract that you have signed. So, and then there should be a minimum of 8 hours rest period in between one shift to another. Annual leave is 21 days per year. So if you calculate that per month, that's 1.75 days per month. And as per the employment law, there should be 1 day off per week for migrant workers, any workers, and they should be provided with decent work and food and shelter by the employers. With regards to the contract, it is very important that workers, they do read what's in the contract, because sometimes contracts are signed on the basis that the workers understand, but when there are issues which arise, we see that this has not been understood. So it is advisable that whenever a contract is issued, both parties sit down and the employers explain the content of the contract, the different conditions in the contract, and if it is well understood, this is signed by both parties. In the case of migrant workers, contracts are submitted to the employment department. Usually it's one month after arrival in the country. And this is attested by the employment department. And after attestation, the worker should be given a copy of the contract, and the employer also he should keep a copy on record in order to make any reference when there are any issues or questions which are asked. We encourage that migrant workers, they look after the environment where they are living in. So in terms of accommodation, they should be kept as clean as possible. It is advisable that employers also, they ensure that the accommodation are clean, and workers also, it is your responsibility to ensure that you keep your accommodation clean. like I've stated before, the gainful occupation permit is issued for a specific job and for a specific time period. So working outside the premises of the GOP, this is in breach of the conditions of the GOP. We have also the health and safety laws, which regulates health and safety nationally. So one provision of the health and safety law is with regards to the issuance of personal protective equipment, which should be worn when at work. And employer, it is your responsibility to ensure that PPEs are made available to the worker, and the worker also should ensure that same should be worn when it is provided. In case of when there are any abuse of and ill treatment, it is encouraged that this is reported to the employment department. Later on during the presentation, we will provide the necessary contact whereby any issues or guidance may be sought from the relevant authorities. Some violation of rights, which you can see on the screen there. Common ones, we have non-payment of salary, non-issuance of payslip, contract, ill treatment by employers, unsafe work site, violence, and forced deportation. These are just some violations which breaches provisions of the Employment Act, health and safety laws, immigration decree, and if workers notice any of these or the violation, they can report to the employment department. We have a hotline, so this is the hotline there, 804041 for the employment department. And for the immigration, they do have their hotline here, where the migrant workers can query or report any issues with regards to the gainful occupation permit. Workers, migrant workers, may be represented by unions. So we do have unions available in the country that can represent migrant workers when there have any dispute and they need the necessary support and help they need. But of course, the relevant authorities do have officials also that supports when there are any issues in order for it to be resolved as smoothly as possible. So health requirement. There are certain health requirements depending on the nature of your work and depending on what kind of job you're coming to do in the country. For example, there are medical examinations applicable to certain occupations, such as those handling pesticide and food handlers, and it is mandatory for migrant workers to take the hepatitis B vaccination, for example, in terms of sewage workers and medical practitioners. Any medical cost, this is usually borne by the employers, and employers, they can make contacts with the Ministry of Health in order to arrange for their workers to conduct any medical examination. And we do have the public health authorities which monitors any discrepancies with regards to accommodation, be it on pre-arrival or post-arrival. So we have this service also available. Law and order. There are certain behavior that is not acceptable for migrant workers to undertake in public places. For example, we have drinking in public. Especially, this is not acceptable. The only acceptable place is the beach. And also, we do expect migrant workers to be on the best ethical behavior in public. So violence in public or fighting in public is not tolerated. We have regulation concerning use of public roads. For example, pavement should be properly used when it is available. Zebra crossing should be properly used. And migrant workers should at all times ensure that they keep their belongings as safe as possible. Especially, we know that some of them, they like to walk around with their passport and GOPs. So they should be kept as safe as possible in order to prevent any loss or theft. And migrant workers should ensure that they do respect their boundaries, public boundaries, because there are private property are not accessible for them to loiter on. So all laws should be abided by migrant workers in terms of law and order in the public. So as we all know, Seychelles, we have endemic species, endemic flora and fauna. So this at all times should be preserved, and migrant workers should not intentionally kill, trap, or remove any of these species from their natural surroundings. As you know, these species are protected by specific laws in Seychelles, so they should be kept in their natural environment, in the natural environment. Yeah. Okay. So with regards to local practice, wildlife, and natural environment, those species which are preserved and any other species should not be sold or exported by migrant workers, and should not be brought in the countries by migrant workers, because we do have laws prohibiting this. And also, it is prohibited to light fires in open area without any permission from the relevant authorities. Also, we have rules governing felling of trees, and this is prohibited under the Breadfruit and Other Trees Protection Act. So these trees should not be felled without any authorization by Ministry of Environment. We encourage employers to keep their workers as engaged as possible. So if there are possibilities, we encourage that social activities are conducted at the workplace level. It can be in the work on the off days of the workers also. And also, it is important that employers make it as engaging as possible. Perhaps they can make it as competitive, just to ensure that migrant workers, they are kept as busy, so that any unnecessary or unethical behavior are not ventured to by migrant workers. We have services that can cater for the religious belief of migrant workers. So in terms of the target group here today, we have Hindus, we have the temple in town, and we do have the Muslim mosque in town, but we know that most of the population in Seychelles are mostly Christian. We know that at the end of the month, migrant workers, they like to do their transaction, either to send money back home or do some exchange. So bank services are available in town, as well as bureau de change. So they have opening hours, mostly Monday to Fridays, 9 to 2. And bureau de change, they are opened a little longer, after 2 until 4 p.m. But nowadays, we do have banks that stays open for half days on Saturdays. So it is possible for these transactions to be undertaken on Saturdays also. So services also, shop services, we have outlets most in all districts, and these are occupied or being looked after by Indian merchants. Other services we have available in town, we have the Selwyn Clark Market, where they can buy local fruits and vegetables. And the opening time for the market is from Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. This is very important for migrant workers because there are occasions whereby they might encounter some medical difficulties, be it an accident on the work site or an illness at the accommodation. So the main hospital, we have the Seychelles Hospital, and this is supported by different clinics available in the country or in region. And these two numbers here are very important for the ambulance services, and we have the emergency number also. And we have other services, health services, which is important as well, the public health services, and the occupational health unit. So the main mode of transport is looked after by the SPTC. The costing for bus, a cash payment of 12 rupees. And when you use a bus card, there is a discount of 2 rupees. It's at the cost of 10 rupees. And as from 7 p.m. onwards, the costing is 15 rupees per trip. Definitely, workers when they come in the country, they like to keep contact with their families. And some telecommunication services we have. There is the cable and wireless telecom services. Its main branch is in Victoria. We have another service, Airtel, Seychelles, and its main branch is situated in Perseverance. This is also a very important information for migrant workers. And with regards to the police department, the main station is in Victoria, but per district there are a police station available whereby they can report any issues. And this number there, this is where any issues can be reported, especially if they want to remain anonymous or if they are in any immediate danger. It is a very easy number to memorize for them to seek for any help. Other information, the employment department is located at Independence House Annex, and the contact number is available on the screen. We also have the hotline numbers, which is available 24 hours. And we have our Facebook page, we have our official contact email, and we do have a ministry's website whereby you can seek further information with regards to any laws and regulation or any information which you seek in terms of your employment in Seychelles. Another important partner, we have the immigration. So it is located at the first floor Independence House. You can see the number on the screen there. And as I've stated before, they also have the hotline number whereby any reports or issues can be made. So in terms of the target population present here today, this is the contact information for the Indian High Commission based on the third floor at Maison L'Esplanade, and it can be contacted on the following number there on the screen. So I thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Diallo. I would now like to call upon the Principal Secretary for the Employment Department, Ms. Véronique Boisson, alongside the Director General for Labor Migration, Mrs. Tara Diallo, and the Chief Immigration Officer, Mrs. Erica Dufresne, to proceed to the head table to interact with the workers present today.
Hello. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Once again, on my part, as the Principal Secretary for Employment Department, I would very much like to welcome you all. It's a pleasure seeing the room very full. Now we've come to the, I think, the last part of the ceremony. As you've just seen, Ms. Diallo has presented the induction, the exact induction that will happen. So now we have to interact with the workers. They followed the presentation, and now if they have any questions that they would like to ask us, the panel up here, or anybody in the room, they are free to do it now. It is important to note the interaction is with the workers solely. Yeah? The employers as well, the employers representative as well, if you have questions, you're free to ask at this point in time. So let me introduce Mrs. Diallo. She's just represented the session. And on my left is Mrs. Erika Dufresne. She's the Chief Immigration Officer. So, okay, we're ready to receive the first question. We have an interpreter around, so for the benefit of the workers of Indian nationality. If you can stand up, the interpreter is here, okay. We have a mic ready, okay. Anybody have a question? A first question for us? Question?
गुड आफ्टरनून एवरीबॉडी, सबको नमस्कार। मैं पहले जानना चाहूँगा यहाँ पर जो भारतीय मूल के कितने वर्कर्स आए हुए हैं, वो हाथ खड़ा करेंगे। सो दिस इज़ योर टारगेट ऑडियंस बेसिकली। सो जैसा कि मैडम ने अभी आपको बताया है, आपको कुछ भी किसी प्रकार का कोई भी अगर शक, डाउट या मन में संदेह है, कुछ भी आप क्लियर करना चाहते हैं, तो आप माइक लेके बोल सकते हैं। मैं आपको कन्वर्ट करके उनको बताऊंगा, वो आपको जवाब देंगे उसका। किसी को किसी तरह का कोई भी है, कोई घबराने की ज़रूरत नहीं है। ये सेशन इसीलिए है कि जब आप यहाँ रह रहे हैं, इसमें आप लोग नए कितने हैं जो अभी आए हैं 1 महीने के अंदर अंदर? 1 साल से ज़्यादा कितने हैं जिनको 1 साल हो गया है? 2 साल से ज़्यादा? आपको कितना टाइम हुआ है यहाँ? कितना टाइम हो गया? 13 साल। तो आप लोग सब 5 साल से ज़्यादा वाले हैं? सारे 5 साल से ऊपर वाले हाथ खड़ा करिए। और 10 साल से ज़्यादा? So they are more than 10 years. People are working for 13 years. They have been here. So आप लोगों को इतने साल हो गए हैं, लेकिन फिर भी कुछ चीज़ों का हो सकता है ना पता हो। तो अगर आप लोग कुछ भी क्वेश्चन पूछना चाहते हैं, कोई जानकारी चाहते हैं, तो आप बैठे हैं, आपको बताएंगे। आप कुछ भी जवाब चाहेंगे, उनकी टीम पूरी है।
Do they have questions, sir? Do they have questions?
I have told them, so they are just pondering over it.
Oh, they're thinking about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
thinking about it. कोई एम्प्लॉयर्स की तरफ से कोई डाउट है तो वो भी पूछ सकते हैं। सिर्फ वर्कर्स के अलावा एम्प्लॉयर्स जो उनके मालिक हैं, जो जहाँ वो काम करते हैं, they can also ask questions. सब लोग खुश हैं? आप लोग वर्कर्स, कोई परेशानी नहीं है किसी को? तो आप लोग पुराने हैं, जो नए आ रहे हैं, उनको भी समझाना है कि यहाँ क्या प्रॉब्लम्स हो सकती हैं, ताकि आने वाले जो आपके भाई बंधु और आ रहे हैं, वो भी अपना ठीक तरह से काम करें यहाँ पर। जो नए आते हैं, अब आप लोगों को काफ़ी टाइम हो गया, धीरे धीरे आप लोगों को चीज़ों का पता चल गया है। नए आते हैं वो परेशान होते हैं। शुरू में आप लोग भी परेशान हुए होंगे भी, लेकिन अभी आप लोग सेटल हो गए हैं। तो actually all these are very old workers. They are beyond 10 years. They have been here, so they're all comfortable now here.
Okay.
So we need to address the new workers who are going to launch. Your induction program has to be for the new workers.
Okay.
Yeah.
But at least one question.
At least,
We've come up here. Ask us.
You take this mic.
No. We should all be comfortable to ask. It can be a simple question. It doesn't have to be something negative. Employers, representative, you don't have any question? Yes, if you can give us your views about the program as well, that will be helpful. I can come up and go around the room if you want. At least one. We've come up here. Ask a question. One question. Sir, maybe if you can go next to them, maybe they'll speak quietly to you, and then you can tell us in English. At least one. They can speak quietly to you. Yes, sir.
Just hold on.
One moment.
As this type of slides, actually, whoever is joining in our company will be able to show. No need means whoever is coming to join in our company, will be able to show this type of things. A small presentation from our side to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Something.
This is yes.
Yeah. It's a useful. Definitely, it's a good. At least people can. Whoever is coming newly in Seychelles, definitely is helpful for them. Okay, we are here. Then we know everything. The thing is, especially for this type of slides, if you are giving to us, it will be helpful for we can show them. It's in our. We can include this in our induction program. We are giving the product knowledge and all the things to the parties. At least we can include this in our slides.
Yes. Thank you, sir, for your contribution. For sure, we will be making available the presentation. It will be on our website. We will be, I think, posted on YouTube as well, Lydie? It will be posted on YouTube. And then following these question sessions, we will be distributing induction packs as well, where the workers will have the written materials that they can take away and read at their leisure. And also, as the minister said in her speech, in the future we plan to have an app. As you know, these days technology is the key. So we will be making available an app where all this information will be available, and not only for migrant workers, it will be for the benefit of our local workers as well. So this will be for the future. We will have the contact sessions with the workers on site, wherever they are. At the same time, we will have the information available electronically to everybody, digitally, as we say, available to everybody. Thank you for that, sir. Happy workers. Minister says happy workers. Okay. Frances, you can proceed with the remaining. Thank you all again for coming.
Thank you. Thank you to our panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, as part of the induction program, the Employment Department has put together an induction pack, as PS has just mentioned, comprising and not limited to relevant information on working conditions, safety and health at work, contact details of key authorities in the country. These resources will be helpful for migrant workers to use as reference for applicable information about their stay whilst working in Seychelles. In addition, the pack also consists of a little token to welcome the migrants present today. We are giving each one of them a Work in Seychelles or WINS induction cap. This token will serve as a reminder to them and the society as a whole of the important contribution that they are making to the development of our country. I believe the packs are going around. Yes. I believe everyone has received their packs. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of our ceremony. I will now invite all guests and the workers for a group photo outside with the minister. After that, you may all proceed for some refreshments. Thank you all and safe journey home.